to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ruben Bogus.
Present.
Natalie.
Present.
Painter, I'm sorry. Here. Wolfersberger.
Here.
Clemens.
Yes.
Brett.
Here.
Okay, we'll go to public comment. Do you have anyone in the audience that is here for public comment? If not, we'll move right along then. So, first thing on our agenda is our consent agenda, which includes the minutes for the December 17th meeting, the treasurer's report, investment recommendations, and approval of bills. If there's no questions or discussions, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion then.
Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
Val.
Yes.
Painter. Yes. Wolfersberger.
Yes.
Cummings.
Yes.
Brett.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
On the new business and, we need, Harvey's here to speak with us on infrastructure project updates. And also talk a little bit about the construction of next phase.
Yes, thank you.
Turn it over to Andrea.
Yes, well, Jim and I are gonna tag team this one,
Oh,
so.
okay.
I struggle to keep
Whoever
my
wants to
mouth
go
shut,
first,
as
yeah.
she'll say that nicer. than me.
Well, no, I mean, we see things from a different angle, so it's good to have us both here. So, yeah, so I put together a few slides just to give everybody a visual update as well as sort of a visual of where we're going. Of the infrastructure upgrade, so I can go to the next one, which is just the agenda, so. Really two areas, wastewater update, which is both the plant and the sewer system. And then the stormwater update, so I'm going to go to the hair data history and then what's been completed and then the upcoming work that we're recommending. So on the wastewater, I was gonna say treatment plant and sewer. So we've got the treatment plant, you see there, this is a picture just a month or two ago from our drone. What we have there, number one is where the influent bar screen is, sort of right below one, so that's new. Right above one, there's some circles, that's the influent lift station, so what basically were, the old plant had 2 pumps. On the expansion, there'll be 3, so we've kept the 2 original and are adding a 3rd for the increase in capacity. From there, it comes to number 2, which is basically the heart of the new treatment system, that's the new oxidation ditch. So you see there, the structure is pretty much completed, mechanical is in. We're right now mainly waiting for both the electrical to be finished as well as the clarifiers to be done. So number 3, there is the new clarifier. So that's the going to be the 3rd clarifier. Where number 4 is, that's your existing plant, which is the 4 package plants. And right now, each of those 4 plants, and I'm sure you've heard this before, acts as its own little treatment unit. So it has the biology and then the settling and then the digestion, which is how we handle sludge. And when this becomes the new plant, 2 of those 4 are going to be turned into clarifiers. So they're just going to settle. And then the other 2 are going to be turned into aerobic digesters, which is again, how we treat the solids before they get sent to storage, which is the pond right above 6. And then out to the fields. In 5, that's an existing building, or it was put in 2019, which used to handle chemicals and then sort of cold storage for the village of like trucks. We're going to keep the chemicals there, but the cold storage is moving, and in there we're putting some blowers and equipment for the digesters. 6 is a new building which has pumps and the UV disinfection system is right on the other side. And then 7 is the new cold storage for the public works vehicles as well as an office. So that's the progress of where we are. The upcoming highlights, in April is when we anticipate beginning UV disinfection. So your wastewater permit right now, and for a long time has been, it has disinfection season. So you don't disinfect all year long. Disinfection is basically from April 1 to October 31st. So in the winter, when there's less public exposure to the creek, we don't have to disinfect. We had chlorine disinfection that's now been removed, so hopefully we anticipate as long as all the ducts are removed with the electrical installation, that when, because the UV equipment is already out there, that as long as the electrical gets delivered and installed in the manner we hope it will, then we'll begin disinfecting in April. That oxidation ditch, we expect to be started in July, as well as the new clarifier. And then there'll be a flurry of work as we convert those existing 4 package plants between July and September to the digesters and the clarifiers. And so hopefully by October, we have everything pretty much in place and functioning as it will be going forward. And then we always give the contractor a few months between when everything's pretty much done and when the contract's done, just to pick up all the miscellaneous odds and ends. So that's the treatment plant. I'll take a breath and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
On the oxidation ditch, I thought that was circular and it just kept moving in. Is there a gate or something where it goes from the outer to the inner?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it's, I mean, when the level gets up, then it just goes there and then. Okay.
Yeah, and this one has a what they call aerobic box on the side, but the intent is to do your nutrient and removal without chemicals.
Yeah, so right now you're using all, so you're removing phosphorus with the chemical. This should be able to take care of phosphorus because we have that anaerobic zone.
Mhm.
Your current plant takes ammonia to nitrate,
Mhm.
but it doesn't take nitrate to nitrogen gas, so there's a lot of nitrate going into the creek.
Mhm.
The goal then is to take some of that nitrate out of the effluent, out of the water, and that's a biological process. So this new ditch has zones where we have different, basically, we select for different types of biology by how much air we add, which will then reduce the amount of nitrate. that's
Will
going.
we still have to add the alum then to it?
The alum we're keeping as a backup, so it's
Okay.
like belt and suspenders. So
Okay.
we're anticipating, the problem with biological phosphorus removal is you have to have the right level of, how do I say that, like, we call it volatile fatty acids. Basically, it's how sugars decompose, so you have to have like the right balance of those volatile fatty acids to your concentration of nitrate. And that just depends on what's coming down the sewer.
Okay.
So it just, some communities have more and some communities have less, so we're hoping to get phosphorus removal just through that biological process, but if the like influent chemistry isn't exactly right, we have the alum there as a backup.
Okay, and then the extruder, where's that at on
The screen,
the screen and all?
the influent screen, that was, if you go back one slide. So that number 1, right below that is a big concrete box.
Mhm.
So the screen is already installed.
Yes, the screen, it actually sticks up above the surface.
Okay.
So it's screening down low, 30 foot deep, but it's pulling it to the surface.
Mhm.
That'd be a dumpster.
Like an elevator or something that would. like
Yeah.
some of
It's
those-
like a rake arm
Yeah.
that comes all the way to the surface. Yeah, so you could go there and see right in the bottom of the box in one, there's 2 channels.
Mhm.
You have the screen channel, and the liquid stays in that channel, and then like the bypass
Took the
channel.
tourists all some of
Yeah.
the work.
Yeah, so
And that-
since you did the tour, sorry, Jim,
Yeah.
the screen has been installed.
Okay.
And there's a washer compactor on that screen as well, so when stuff comes out, it gets sprayed down and compacted to get rid of the liquid, so there shouldn't be any odor, minimal odor with that is the goal, so.
And they shouldn't have to go down into, because that box, when you go down, there's some stairs, but it's
It would be a confined space.
it would be a confined space entry because the like atmosphere in there, you could build up hydrogen sulfide gas or methane, so you would always have 2 people making sure the hatches are open, and there's some ventilation.
Mhm.
And so one person stays out and one person can.
Is it an external fan of some kind?
Yes.
Draw that out when somebody goes down there?
Yes.
Yeah, so we don't, I mean, that it's, and your staff should have some confined space entry training to go down there,
Mhm.
just because we don't expect anything to happen, but we want to make sure nothing happens
Okay.
to the staff, so that's why that area in one should be limited.
Will there be a sign or something there that says,
Yeah, well,
like 2 people?
yeah, and there's gas detection and forced air removal, so
Okay.
we're doing everything we can,
Okay.
but it's just a spot that.
That's fine. Yeah.
So, And I want to add, as far as the treatment plant guys and Mike and those guys have been extremely helpful. I mean, we have tested them and pushed them, and, you know, we had two of those existing package plants, one down a week and another one down for a few days, and we've shut flow down to the plant half a dozen times, and Hayden and Dustin and Mike have just been fabulous to work with out there. They've been very, very responsive and very easy to work with. So I just want to make sure somebody sang those praises here, because I've worked in a lot of places where it's not this easy. So I want to make sure that was said in this forum. So.
Right, so moving on to the sewer system, so in addition to the purpose of that new, or the upgrades to the treatment plant is to expand the capacity. In parallel to that, we also need to expand the capacity of the trunk line sewer that's coming into the plant. And there's been two issues over many years that we're looking to address. One is that during certain heavy rains, there's been sanitary sewer overflows. So that's been the key, and that's one that, I don't know, like 5 years ago or so, we wrote some letters to IEPA to let the state know that the village was working to address the sanitary sewer overflows. The second is supporting growth in the village, because without a way to get additional flow to the plant, that also limits growth as well as the capacity of the plant. So the new sewer will open up capacity both at the north side and to the east, because we're basically taking flow off of the existing sewer, which will be dedicated to flow from the east part of town, and then adding this new capacity. So we'll have 8 segments of 18 and 24-inch sanitary sewer, up to 150, that's replacing 10 and 12-inch sewer, so significantly larger. And because I'm an engineer and a nerd, the next one is so I just like this, so I have to subject you. So the top,
See it there.
is that brown line on the top graph is the ground surface elevation. And then the gray line is the sewer.
So those two low spots, at the far left is at 150.
150 at the high school. So where the pink line is like the water profile that we modeled in our modeling software during a heavy rain. And you can see how the pink line of the water goes above the brown line of the ground at those two locations.
So when the high school was complaining about stuff floating in their parking lot, this is why.
The bottom line is showing the new sewer, same profile. You see that water staying in the pipe. That the reason it gets pink towards the bottom is because when we modeled this, we modeled the old pump's elevation settings. The new pump elevation settings are gonna keep it in that pipe. So it's not even gonna look, if you opened up a manhole, you wouldn't even see it there. So that's just the things that I'm interested in. So this, so yes, as far as the installation of this is going, so all the stuff that's dug up along Water and Elm Street, that's where that sewer is going in. So there's just some pictures taken from a few weeks ago. And keep going. Yeah, so there's the aerial of the road, the new roadway alignment. That inset picture on the bottom left is what the road looked like before. So we're done with pavement partially, and then in the spring we're actually gonna come back and add sidewalk along the west side of the road as well.
So we changed water because we made it you had to turn a 90 to get on, because we just had so much traffic that would shoot straight up Elm Water and out, and it was dangerous. It took approximately 12 hours for somebody to shoot off the water through that dirt out on the Elm and not make the corner after it was open. So it's going to be a little bit of a training.
I think that's it on the sewer. So I guess I'll take another pause and see if there's any questions on sewer.
They're continuing to work on the sewer through the winter. We won't be able to do any of the roadway restoration until the frost is out of the ground at this point. But what was agreed to with Mike was that Stark, who's installing the sewer, will take care of the snow removal, so the city's equipment's not on that gravel, concrete, mixed pavement. They're not tearing up the the village's plows. And Stark was willing to do that to be able to keep working through the winter, so I think they're gonna continue to work all the way up, clear through the way it sounds, so.
All right, so changing briefly to stormwater. So I am aware of us being involved with stormwater planning for the village since 2004. So it's been 20+ years now.
I'm aware of it since 1987.
Well, you know, that's why I'm really expand my awareness. Yeah, so there, I just put this up to, we've done a lot of planning, we've done a lot of modeling, we've written a lot of memos. Basically, you can keep going there. This is addressing flooding problems that the village has had. So that first 2004 master plan was, after this, I think is a storm captured in 2003. And then the next page has some similar pictures of a storm captured in 2004. I know that within the last 12 months, there's been more flooding issues in the village. So this is a problem that's been ongoing. So really the area that we're addressing is that brown shaded area, which we refer to as the South Drainage Basin. That little line isn't showing up very well. There's an existing drainage district tile, which is DD6, that sort of cuts diagonally through that area. That's a 27-inch pipe that currently conveys the stormwater out south of town to the Salt Fork. The red line there is what we proposed as a new 54 and 48-inch sewer, storm sewer to intercept the DD6 tile. So basically on the, as for the north of that red line will then be captured by the new storm sewer, and then that also opens up capacity downstream. So this is a way to just get more stormwater capacity. The green line then, which I'll discuss a little bit more in a minute, would then be an extension of this sewer to go out east to open up that eastern portion for additional development. Now I'll note that this is going to greatly alleviate existing storm problems, although it doesn't change where the 100-year floodplain is. So for areas that are in the 100-year floodplain, or if you have a 100-year flood and the whole system is up and there's nowhere for the water to go, it's still like, but for all the 5 and 10-year storms, this should help a lot with the flooding. So that was the need. I'll go on to the next one. So we've broken this into several phases. Phase 1 is the outfall. So that's up at the Oxbow, crossing the Kickapoo Rail Trail, coming right north of Cold Park, ending where I put that little arrow. So that's done. Now phase 2 was designed and bid out as a tiny little portion of our sanitary sewer project. So phase 2 isn't installed yet, but it's been bid and it's in that existing contract. So that will take them right into the alley that's between Sherman and Douglas, just ever so slightly. And the reason why we did those two together was we knew we had to get through that part right to the east of Cold Park and didn't want to redo the road as part of the sanitary project and then come back a year or two later and have to redo the whole road again to put another big 54. So those are what's completed. So that's just showing you, I don't know if you guys have been down in the Oxbow to see what the outfall looks like, but that's what the outfall looks like. That's just an overview of where that comes down, and that's showing Market Street as it's been reconstructed. I just threw this slide in here just to have another thing that we've done in the last 12 months, which is the stormwater improvements for the high school. So this is again an aerial that's showing the outfall there in the Oxbow up to the high school. And then this is the work that's not there yet, but showing where the sanitary work is, and you know where they were at that point, and where in the blue where the storm is going to go.
And we'll I'm just gonna, why we chose to go to the alley between Douglas and Sherman. If you get on Douglas, the right of way for the first 2 blocks is extremely narrow. There's already gas, water, an existing sanitary sewer in there. There's no room for a 50-inch storm sewer, 54-inch storm sewer. If we went down Douglas, it probably meant we had to do a new sanitary down that line. It was just gonna get really expensive. So we chose to point down the alley. We'll probably have to talk to some of the residents about getting a construction easement. We won't need a permanent easement, but just an easement so they can work. But that was a lot less expensive route than what going all the way to Douglas was gonna do. We're hoping to take it down the alley a couple blocks. And then we get where there's a sanitary in that alley, so we'll jump over to Douglas. But that's where the right of way also gets wider down the street there farther too.
You can see that in the next slide.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before you go on, I gotta digress a bit.
Yeah.
On the one where you showed DD6
Mhm.
and all that, and the ways to alleviate the pressure off of DD6,
Mhm.
does that drainage district have any financial responsibility? It seems like we're trying to fix their problem. So that's what it looks like on the outside.
If you can convince them of that, we've had that conversation a lot with them over the years, Art. I think you've probably heard some of them, but
No, I haven't.
they've taken no ownership of that pipe over the years that I'm aware of. I mean, I can tell you some of the names, I won't hear, but,
Well, I know that part of it was collapsed and they had, was it last year, they had to have a tie-in emergency, but it seems like what we're doing is to go ahead and fix what they should have already done or should be done
yeah, I guess the
to a
argument,
certain degree.
yeah, the argument becomes this, whose beneficial use is it? I mean, for them, it's a field tile. And for you, it's drainage for, a good portion of your community. And that's a tough fight. I asked the same question in my own head, do they have any money that they would put up for this? But that's not a conversation we could have. The village would have to approach.
Well, it seems like it's almost incumbent, because we're tying it, you're tying into their pipe.
I don't disagree, Art.
Okay. Well, I'm just bring it.
Oh,
Ask some
it's
questions.
been talked about quite a bit over the years.
Okay.
Except we tried hard to get them, I don't know if you were on the board yet or not, Art. They're at the end of Main Street where the water pours in off of the field. We tried to work with them on getting that alleviated, had a plan and everything, and
No, I wouldn't privilege any of those conversations, but I'm just asking the question so that if it comes up, say, because when you see the diagram and you're trying to fix what they should be doing, it looks like some of that's, they'll have a little skin in the game. Because if nothing else, you're gonna have that field tore up for, for a crop year or two or whatever. So you got the financial responsibility on that, not counting all the infrastructure.
no, I don't disagree. We've not had much luck in the past. And he's still on the drainage district, the particular person that we tried to work with, so.
Yeah, I've seen a couple different engineers come back to my office so mad they were throwing stuff that after having conversations with him, so.
Well, I can guess who it is, so.
Do you want to talk to him?
When I don't know the whole story, there's no need going ahead and getting in the fight after the fact.
So this slide is showing what Jim was describing, where I have the arrow pointing phase 2 and phase 3 start, so that's, and then to that red line, which is the DD6 line, that's what we're proposing as the phase 3, which really will, that's the goal I think the village should definitely get to, because that's what's gonna take the pressure off that drainage tile. Then the next slide is showing the potential phase 4, which just basically goes down Douglas to catch that. So that's more of a, how prepared do you want to be for development now? So that's, I provided Joe with a proposal last Friday, is in the packet of, the design for getting phase 3 and phase 4.
So for the east development, we're back to the sanitary sewer, and Andrea mentioned this a little bit. What we're doing is separating the Evergreen sewer was tied to everything that came from it. So the new sewer separates that. The Evergreen sewer will be on its own sewer, and everything north of there comes across the field. That's the new line we put across the field. And by doing that, that allows the development to the east to come through that evergreen pipe. There's enough capacity there then with nothing downstream that we've got to go. So that gets you your sanitary growth you need for that eastern development. So you're taking care of that with the project you're doing now. So this storm project would be the next step to get development out there. Now, can there be some development out east? Yes, but it would be fairly small, and there's just, they'd have to build ponds, which according to your rules, they have to anyway, but our drainage out of those ponds is getting fairly limited when you get east of town. So that's why the thought of going down Douglas with this new sewer.
And I got the one other thing that I'll mention is that when we envision putting the sewer down Douglas, we're envisioning putting the roadway back as it is. If you wanted to go with a additional roadway design with catch basins and upgrade sidewalks, or upgrade profile that I did not include, but we could look at if you want. But right now, I mean, we're just envisioning first getting the drainage out there, and if you want to come back later and doing a
But you said
road.
you're going down the alley.
Not
Go back one slide.
from Main Street on, we're going.
So there's 2 blocks in that alley, and then it cuts down the half block and then goes into Douglas.
The thought from our transportation guys at one time when they done it was to make Douglas a main thoroughfare, basically. And whether you do that all the way to Elm Street or you do that from Main Street over, with that, changing that roadway is not included in the project we put for it, and the cost estimate either, because it's going to drive up cost quite a bit.
I remember the conversation over that about going down Douglas, because they were talking about, that was in some of the sidewalk project they were talking about too.
Yeah.
And all that, and it's kind of like doing one, they come back in, tear it up. I said, look, we need to do it. If you're gonna do it all at once.
Our plan right now is just put a tar and chip street in.
Okay.
And it's hard to, where's that traffic gonna be? Is it gonna be on Douglas? Do you want to force it onto Douglas? Will it be an entrance onto 150 out of that eastern development? That's probably the way I would try to force them, to get them out on the state highway as quick as possible and save your city streets. They've talked about maybe some commercial along where the rail trail is and developing that, and this is all, if it ever happens or not too, but it's hard for us sitting here today, not knowing how that's going to develop and what shape it's going to develop, to recommend, let's spend an extra $2 million to put a really nice concrete roadway all the way into that. And then it'll be a roadway to nowhere. And none of us are going to be happy with that in 5 years. So, if that would develop, if Klingon would develop his 40 before anything else develops, what does that roadway down Douglas help you? So that's the struggle we have, recommending to do a lot of work that we're not sure you're going to need.
Yeah, so I think that we're recommending the storm phase 4, just because without it, you can't do anything, but to wait and see on the roadway to come back later. If there is a big development, if that does become a big thoroughfare, then you don't have to touch the storm again, you don't have to touch the cemetery again, you can just redo the road one time.
Okay.
Want to clarify, you're saying that without storm phase 4, you're saying that property can't develop?
Can't develop fully. There's some development that could happen because at least 2 of the ponds out there were oversized when they did those last developments that go around the curve out there. So there's some, and I forget how many houses, but it's 20-25 houses. It's not the 200 to 500 that would fit out there.
We've got some conflicting information on that, which I think that we should probably reconvene on.
Yeah.
And drill down on that a little bit, the stormwater piece specifically.
Yes, and I was, when you got that information, I looked at the sanitary side, I didn't look at the storm side, but I know the information you're talking about.
But so we're talking stormwater though specifically.
Yeah.
As okay. So I don't know if you at your conclusion with this, or are you ready for them to make a decision on the?
I don't have anything else. It's a good question.
Yeah,
It's basically what they're asking you to do is you have a choice between continuing on designing phase 3 and designing phase 4. And at this time, I encourage you to really drill down and let's get phase 3 going, because like they said, that is the big connection point to DE6, which is why we've done this in the first place. Phase 4 is a little bit, at this point, I'd like to get a little bit more into the budget prep before you commit to that at this moment, but I don't want to continue to speak if you have any questions for them. That's my thoughts.
Well, I thought the goal was always to go ahead and connect with DD6. And
That's why
they're,
they have to design it. They have to design that last piece.
as far as the phase 4, I see no. You can pencil it in, but I don't see a need to continue that until there's some actual movement to develop the land, because right now, I don't see anything happening there. And I don't foresee it in, several years. If it should transpire, then that could be go ahead and part of the conditions for the development. But to my point, as far as the 4, the 3, yeah, that's my opinion.
I think I would like to see the planning stage for phase 3 for sure. Phase 4, yes, I think it should be on the goals list, and that's the future, that's what we need to be looking at. And then of course, there's always the money factor that gets thrown in there on top of all of it, once you get it designed, and then we're still gonna figure out how to pay for it. So, which by the time we get to that point, we might have a better idea too, where we stand financially. Because the sewer project will be wrapping up and, or it will be done. And so some of those things we'll have a better idea too, the budgeting as far as even how to pay for phase 3. And once you get through that, then I think in time, then, that would be the goal, is to figure out then what do you do to get phase 4. And like Art said, maybe there's some movement that you have going on to the east too, to make it more feasible, to make it happen. So I guess that's kind of where I stand on it, but any other comments, questions?
I just have concerns about where we're gonna get the money for 4. So I think we've gone this far, we need to continue on with 3. And then we continue to look at the budget and talk about things and figure out about 4.
I think it's exciting each and every step that we've taken so far, because I said, I know Art and I have been the 2 that have been on here the very longest, me longer than Art, but I know, when I first got on the board, I was handed that stormwater master plan, 2004, and I just know there was nothing ever done on it, ever, not even the smallest little thing. And then I finally had a little bit of movement on a couple of very teeny projects, and then we did the one on First Street. And to me, that was huge. I mean, when you have people come to you at the bank and thank you for getting the water out of their yard that they've had to live with for years and years and years, that's always feels pretty good that you feel like you've done something that people actually notice, especially when it comes to infrastructure, because so much infrastructure goes unseen. And, it's one of those things you take for granted until you're that person, that has the water sitting in your yard and have to deal with it all summer long. So to me, I'm excited that we're making progress, and we've got, for the last 3 years, been working on some huge projects. And so, yeah, I would like to see the momentum to keep going and figure out how do we get a budget. But yeah, I think moving forward with the design phase of phase 3, I think is a good move to keep moving things forward. So.
and I will say that with phase 3, with all these phases and even the sewer project down Elm Street, we're adding a lot of local storm sewer. So there's no storm sewer gonna be an elm that's gonna tie to this 54 inch, and there's new storm sewer down at the intersection of water that takes some local drainage issues, hopefully trying to solve them there. So we are addressing a lot of storm issues as we go, which I think your residents will see. They're up there at Cold Park, we've always had issues with flooding there on both sides of that street, and, we're trying to get rid of that and dress that up a little bit, so this 54 inch pipe, if we get to DD6, it's not a pipe to nowhere. You're making a lot of improvements from that point. You're trying to get some growth in your community. You can pick up the intersections, do some local, but we don't have the complaints down Douglas that you see south and into that part of town. So that you're all thinking right, the DD6 is the priority. It's just whether you want to go ahead and have the design ready, setting on a shelf when you do have money.
Yeah, is there a benefit because I think the one thing I'll add is we have a contract for the design of the sewer along Elm Street. We were able to be more efficient than we originally planned, so what I was thinking is we use the remaining budget for the contract that we already have to just add this scope. Because the way I'm looking at it now, I think we'll be able to get it done within the existing contract.
For 3,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then 4, and I, everything you say is very valid, and I'm just putting it out there that if there's any benefit for the village to have a shovel-ready project with this 4, to have it designed, then, put it on the shelf and construct it later or not.
That can. If there's another COVID and all of a sudden the government pumps out a bunch of money and they, this last time they funded all these shovel ready. Yeah, let's not, but
Exactly.
they funded all these shovel ready projects. Is that's the only benefit, or that is the benefit to having this ready, but I'm not trying to sit here and talk you into anything.
But how much would it cost to go ahead? I mean, the 3, I think everybody's in agreement there, but on the 4, how much of the cost would it cost to design it?
I have that in the,
It's 175 here.
Right.
That's
that's the design of 4.
But were you saying that there's already funds to cover part of the 148 for
Yeah.
phase 3?
Yeah, we were more efficient in our design than
Okay.
when I put together the scope, estimate hours, and we just were able to get it done more efficiently. So we have quite a bit of money left on that contract. So we could close the contract out and start a new contract, or we can I could amend it with Joe to say $0, but we'll add this scope. However you want to do it.
Well, I guess my question is this, that in your opinion, we should go ahead and do the design, because I don't see that 4 happening. I'll be honest with you, 5, 10 years. I mean, I just don't see it happening. I don't see any need to spend the money between 3 and 4, because it's not gonna happen.
I think that's the village's call. I mean, I think our only recommendation is if you want to design on the shelf, so that when you're ready to pull the trigger, it's not that.
And that's why I can see the merit, but I mean,
The year of
also,
design.
I mean, see $175,000, you go like that from 3 to 4 on the same piece of paper.
Well,
There might be a pipe that you put in the ground.
I mean, it's just like 2 lines and you go down. Yeah.
Do you want a job?
We do need some help.
Is the planning any more efficient to do phase 4 at the same time as phase 3, or like if we did phase 4?
The way the pipe is designed in terms of size and in terms of elevation, we have planned it already. That you will be able to keep going down to the end of Douglas. The efficiency comes from, the same drafter being there to do it all right now, and not 5 years from now. We always,
Well, it's, when you put a project together, somebody's gotta go out there and survey it. So you survey the whole thing, it's simpler just to continue all the way through it, and then you design, in our mind, it will be 3 and 4 will be one project. So it'll all be designed and there'll be a line on drawing that says stop here. You know, there is some efficiency, you know, there's some efficiency to doing both at the same time. Is it 10%? Is it 5%? You know, it's not 50%. There's some efficiency.
And there's the time too, I mean, because if you call up today and say, you know, I want this design, you know, it's gonna take 6-9 months to get on between the survey and.
I feel like a car salesman.
I know, I'm like, we're not those kind of.
I can argue the other side if you want me to for a while.
Well, now you guys just go ahead at between 3 and 4, like I said, 4 ain't gonna have. You put a T in there, you just go ahead and have an elbow or
There'll
what,
be a manhole with
just,
a hole on the other side waiting for a pipe.
yeah, so you just cap that end off.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to just explain why I'm recommending that you hold off. It's because you are 100% paying for the sewer plant out of the revenues that you're raising from the sewer plant, 100%. The Elm Street project was always planned to be a combination between the sewer fund, the general fund, and the stormwater fund. And what we need to do is see how all three of those funds react, paying for the debt servicing, and make sure that those funds are sustaining well prior to taking on a lot of extra expense. And the 175 isn't really the big deal. You know, I mean, at some point you need to do it. Yes, I'm just saying tap the brakes at the moment and let's see how the funds are reacting to it. That's all I'm asking.
Now, are you talking about both 3 and 4?
No, I just want you to do 3. I want you to just tap the brakes, but keep 4 on your mind because it's not just the growth that 4 would help. If I remember correctly, it's that you can, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you can add fingers off of 4 all along 4
Oh,
up to
yeah.
that would do what he's talking about, local improvements. So it does help your older part of town as well as reduce the amount of stormwater retention you have to do on the new development. I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying not right this second. Let's hold off a second and then see where we're at, but keep it in the back of your mind that at some point it would be nice to have it ready. So that if a funding source becomes available and they mentioned in their memo, I believe, or maybe it's just through conversations, that SRF, the way that it scores stormwater improvements, this project probably wouldn't do very well with it. So that's low interest money, it's basically free money. That's not free money, but it's 1%-ish interest, but this isn't going to qualify for that.
And there's an argument to be made that if you wait 3 years, 4 years, and you want to bond this, your bond interest is going to be hopefully go down in the next few years too. So there's argument for your side of the table.
We can also always try to do. We have a congressional representative that doesn't do number direct funding as an example, but we can always continue to along the way ask for different sources or, you know, try to identify a funding source and things like that. But
So I got an email this afternoon. There was a new grant program, the RAISE grant. It looked to me like though it would, because it was for like feasibility studies and looked like some prep work. And it was the US DOT rural and tribal something or other. Do we ever qualify for even those? I mean, it sounded like it was a very competitive grant either way. Because it kind of read that if you pretty much didn't have your information, sound like they have the grants already distributed 5 minutes after they open the window to submit your application. So, I mean, it sounded pretty iffy anyway, but from what I read on it, I just quickly read through it. I don't even know if a project like this, because it mentioned bike paths but it did mention some kind of transportation, but is that more highway transportation type projects or?
I have to look into the RAISE grant because that's not one that I typically deal with, so Sean will probably know. I can go back and ask him.
Yeah. Because it looked like it was specifically for rural communities.
The thing we see with a lot of those grants that they trumpet, it's 20,000 here, 25,000 there. It's not big projects. You know, that's the struggle with a lot of those grants. You know, the rural development grants are very small, you know.
And that's why I said I didn't even, it just happened to come in through my email today. So that's why I was fresh on my mind, thought I would
Yeah, one
ask.
of the things, I don't know if you've done the Safe Sidewalks grants recently, because that's one that you could fund, sidewalks on Douglas Street, Safe Sidewalks to schools as a grant. We could argue that gets you closer. So there's some stuff you could reach for like that.
Denied twice. For that one. We were denied
Yeah.
in 2018, and then we were just denied last time.
Yeah, it's a battle.
Yeah.
There's not much money funded into them, and they make it a pretty big production of giving money away, but it tends to be a struggle to get and a small amount.
I thought, just what I briefly had read, it looked like it was probably a push since. I mean, not only probably us not qualifying, but also it was very competitive, and I don't know if this project would be quite what they were asking for, so, but. It's hard to ask.
It seemed like everybody's gut reaction was kind of just to approve the design for 3, and it seems like Joe's recommendation is to approve the design for 3, so. You just need like a motion to approve the design for 3, or what is it that you need?
Yeah, I would give direction that, we want them to move forward with 3, but the way that they recommended. Paying for it with the surplus funds that are available. But then also just know that we'll continue to bring up design 4 and just evaluate it as time goes on.
Let's make motion, I'll second.
Okay, well, I didn't know if we needed an official motion or if you saying. you
Yeah,
needed
I would like
direction.
that.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Then I will make a motion that we approve the design and bidding fees for bidding for phase 3. Of 148,000 and make it part of, I guess, the current contract.
I'll second your motion.
Payne,
Yes.
Wolfensberger,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes,
Fallon,
Yes.
motion passed 5-0.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys coming out, having a good night.
Hopefully this is the coldest of the year.
Yeah.
Probably not.
cuss with another cow, so.
I'm still got a little, I'm looking over my shoulder a little bit on that deal still, so it's been almost a year and I'm still feeling the nervousness about that, so.
My dad used to carry a hammer for the horses if they got out of line.
I've told my wife that that cow hit me so hard the first time, that even if I'd had a gun with me, I couldn't have shot her because I was so knocked out of it the first time, then the second, third time didn't help, so.
Well, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Have a good rest of the night. All right, next item on our list here is a consideration of the waiving of subdivision rights. And I see that Andy is here. It's in your packet of what he's wanting to do, and if you don't mind, maybe if you want to just kind of briefly give them an idea of what it is that you're wanting to do with that. It's far enough outside of the village, there, because it's on the other side of the railroad, correct? Yeah. So you're just wanting to divide a parcel into 2 parcels?
Yeah, it's taking one piece of land and splitting it actually into 3. I mean, there will be 2 smaller lots that would be building lots, and then there would be the remaining 17 acres in the back of it. And there's not really a plan right now. We're doing as I was hearing all this, we're kind of doing our own feasibility study on how much construction costs right now, but all we would be building there is a house. It's not like we're starting some commercial anything or doing anything with it other than building.
Not a big subdivision or anything
No.
like that, so it's just be a couple houses and.
Yeah, there won't even be my wife and I have toyed with selling the lot to some friends that would be next to it. There's a smaller 2-acre lot or family or something like that. Right now, we're not going to sell that. We're just gonna keep the whole thing selfishly to ourselves and maybe sell the 2-acre lot to somebody eventually, but with the anticipation that that would just be another home, it wouldn't be anything beyond that.
I said in the past, most generally, in these circumstances, we most generally will waive that just because it's not probably gonna have much impact at all on the village. It's far enough out and it's a very small project, so, but basically, we just need to decide if we're gonna waive it or not, and we can make a motion to do that.
We just, yep, and then we'll listen.
I make a motion, we waive it. I'll second.
Okay, Forsberg,
Yes.
Cummings.
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Dowd.
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
motion passed 5-0.
Yep, thank you for your time, everybody.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed all the conversation.
You know what?
I
might
come up more
often,
Hey, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate
So, all right.
I'll have the stuff ready for pickup and I'll also send a copy to the county.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'll stop by and grab it.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. All right, third item on our new business is the approval of the intergovernment agreement for the GIS consortium. That's for Champaign County, correct?
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions on that as far as the explanation of why we're doing that? I think Joe's kind of got explained in the packet as far as why we're doing this additional intergovernment agreement to that. Is there anything specific that they need to know about that? I mean, I thought it seemed pretty basic.
We meet quarterly. And so that's why it takes time to get some stuff ironed out, and the concern is just that since on staff, we don't have staff trained to be able to upload layers to the GIS system, we have to contract with the people that have that skill, which ours is Clark Deeds. And they're not familiar with having third parties that are non-members in their system. We're not the only community rentals doing the same thing. And so they've pressed pause on that, and then they keep up with certain parameters where they feel comfortable having non-member agencies on their system, and this is what it is, so. It's fine, Clark Dietz was fine with it whenever they reviewed the agreement, so we're good to go.
Any questions? Any motion?
I make a motion, we approve the intergovernmental agreement as presented. Second.
Cummings,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Dowd,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
Wolfersberger,
Yes.
motion passed 5-0.
All right, old business. This is basically announcing for the TIF public meeting announcement, which will be on February the 11th, 2025. We need to do anything more than that, just other than to announce that we'll be having a public meeting on that day.
At the municipal building here at 6 p.m. is when the meeting will be. So that's, you've done that part, you're good there, but you also need to, if you know who you want at this point, that would be great, but prior to that meeting, you need to select somebody from among you to be your representative to the joint review board.
Do we make that an emotion?
You don't have to, but you need to have a consensus of whoever you want to pick to do it.
I personally think Art knows the most about this tip stuff. He blows me away because he's been through it once and it didn't go through, and I think he knows what it's gonna take to make it happen, and that's who I'd represent.
I agree.
So I get to be the pissing post.
Yeah. Congratulations.
There you go.
Is Art willing
We
to
can
do
come and
that?
support you.
Yeah. I know different things about it, but I'll take them on my own. So, yeah.
Well, and I'm sure Joe will hold your hand where you need to have your hand, if you need your hand.
Well,
held.
literally.
He may have to hold my hand or may have to.
Maybe sit on
Okay,
it.
get a little quiet, so.
That is our view.
It's, well, this isn't the joint review board.
Okay.
This public meeting this is your meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
But it says, you said 6 a.m.
Yeah, it actually, I'm sorry, it will be
7 p.m.
7 p.m. I apologize.
That's right,
That's a typo.
that you were scaring.
7.
Okay.
So that'll go in the minutes, seven. It's at 7, and then I'll post this notice with it corrected at 7, yes. But the joint review board won't meet until March, if I remember the schedule correctly.
So the February 11th meeting is on at 7.
It'll be here, we'll get it corrected, that was a typo, they thought your guys' meeting starts at 6,
Okay.
but it's at 7. But the joint review board, we'll be going to is. March 20th.
Are you here?
Should be, I'm looking at.
It's in the morning.
Well, I mean, sometimes you gotta go.
I don't, yeah, I'll be here. I don't see any conflict at the moment.
Great,
Okay. All right, well then we're
thank you.
ready to go.
You need a motion, just go ahead and put that out, or is it always?
We all agree.
All right, if you need nothing more on that, then we'll go down to, village administrator. I know you've got a few notes there in our packet. Do you have anything to add to that, Joe?
No, we'll have I'll start asking for thoughts on the upcoming budget here soon. But other than that, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
Okay, Mark.
I don't have anything to report.
All right, thank you. Mike,
Nothing this month.
all right, do you have anything to add for Public Works?
So Public Works has been doing a really good job cleaning up the boat graveyard. If you drive by there, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put out some before and after pictures of what it looked like before. I went back and looked at them today, and it's absolutely shocking to look at what it was at its peak, so to speak, and what it is now. So it looks a lot better, and it's
I think it's amazing to know, especially, like I said, for as many years as I know that it's been there on that property, to think of how much of that stuff was all crammed in there and has been there for so many years that nothing's ever been done with it. And, you know, here we are. I mean, I just think it's great that we're finally dealing with that project.
And that beautiful hotel's gonna be sitting there.
Anything but what's there at this point is gonna be a plus. I mean, just because it's, you know, it's our commercial property, which we're limited, and it, to me, it's just been wasted space for so long.
Are the
And,
boats gone now then? Nice.
yeah, I said, it's made, you have to drive past. And check it. So-
they're smashing them up and hauling them off.
As somebody that drives by it 4 times a day, believe me, I appreciate it.
Right,
It's remarkable.
It is, it looks great,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm still gonna put some photos up, but
I'm gonna try to get some
Yeah.
before and after,
Yeah.
like side by side pictures of what it looks like, because it is really good.
Who smashes them up, the village?
Yeah, we rented
You could have sold that. You know, people go in and pay to break things and.
would you pay like an
I
expert
wouldn't,
or
but other
a-
people think they're making.
Anger, whatever.
You go take photos of those.
ties that is, yeah, honor some sledgehammer.
Yeah.
I used to do that with cars for high school fundraisers.
Yeah.
The administrator and me comes out, that somebody comes back out, yeah, I get sued.
Hit somebody else with a hammer.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. Okay, well, it's not
See that.
fair, I said that's. Already said what I said about, I think that's great that that's finally getting taken care of. I think our snow removal so far has gone well. I've not heard any complaints in regards to snow and the salting of our streets. And we've had a little bit of snow this year, so not anything too major, but it's enough that it could have been somewhat of a problem. So I think our guys are doing good there. I have Samoa is meeting on January the 23rd at Savoy So, we need the RSVPs actually by the 17th. There, did you guys all get the emails for those? Okay, I
What
never
date
know.
did you say it was?
23rd.
The 23rd, it's in Savoy. And their keynote speaker is State Representative Brandon Schweitzer. Schweitzer, it's not a T in there. From the 104th District. So, it starts at 6 with the social meet and greet. And then, dinner buffet is at 6:30, the meeting starts at 7.
Where is it?
Savoy.
Where?
Oh, rec center,
Correct.
the rec center.
I won't be there. I'll just say that now.
If you can make it, just let Debbie know, like tomorrow. Give her a call in the office, let her know if you're gonna make it or not. So, anyway, they'll have a little business meeting that night too, hopefully. Well, Sean and I will have to be turning over our chairmanship to somebody else too, so. So that's really all I have. I can't think of anything else. Trustees, do you have anything? No? So, well. I guess that's it. So there's a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, everybody.